in the negotiations of this thing, if I have to trade off that many deaths in the world to finally kill off this.
Oh, it's terrible. Evelyn was sitting there enjoying the show. I had an adult beverage, you may say.
Having a few soda pops for you, Steve.
God, I hate that. I hate that so much.
A little soda pop, a little adult beverage. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
So his wife is guffawing at the idea of a night out, because the night out consists of these monkeys lobbing formed feces at each other.
Hot, steamy poop.
And then so there could be some hoo-hoos. Ha-ha.
Yep.
And then another mound of feces.
Yeah.
Goes from the left to the right of the stage, and the crowd roars with approval.
Yeah, it won't be much of that monkey poop throwing this year, though, unfortunately.
No, it's is that officially canceled now? Again, I don't, I refuse to listen.
Everything, really everything for the next couple of months. Yeah. Everything for March, April, and May has been canceled. We have a couple of dates still on the calendar for June, but I would be shocked if they happen.
So you guys aren't going to go the WWE route and really force your way through it?
Yeah, we're gonna do shows at the Performance Center.
Yep, an empty building.
Actually, I guess technically we did that last week. We did a Facebook Live on Friday night. It was actually a lot of fun.
Oh,
a lot of
yeah,
fun. A lot of people
I did see that. I saw you posted that, and I gave you some encouraging words on your Facebook post.
Yeah, I think you just said no, or not interested, or something like that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Feels like.
By the way, we're talking over 1998's Best Technology Skype.
Yeah.
As you can see, I am eating the ceremonial York peppermint patty that we eat every week when we record.
Yep.
We have one of these as the intro's rolling. So
is that my portion?
That one's for you.
Of the York quota this week?
Yeah. Because here's yours.
Yeah.
And then here's mine.
Oh, good. So there's, and again, any way you could drop a handful off of those in my mailbox or something?
No, not possible. We do not have enough. We have a limited supply. I mean,
wow.
We're only halfway through this box of 175 with a full unopened box of 175.
Don't we? And don't we still have a whole bag of like those garbage ones? What were those? The Pearson's, the Pearson's patties that we slogged. We already slogged through a whole box of those pieces of crap, and then someone sent us another bag of them.
Yeah, and look, we don't know how long this lockdown is going to go.
Right.
I mean, this could be my sustenance for the next 3 years.
Right. I mean, this might, you might get to the point where you're pureeing those to feed them to baby Evelyn because that's all you have left. Because I believe last I looked, that garbage horse cereal is finally off of the candy shelf up there.
Yeah, because I think you tried a bowl of it many months ago.
Yeah, after it was already months outdated. I finally had myself a bowl. And I went from that to my sugar cube, and then I had someone put some hot metal on the bottom of my feet, and I was officially a horse.
Those are harsh words for Crocklin Oat Bram.
Yeah.
By the way, this is fantastic.
You heard it there in the intro, Steve. I wanted to ask you a question because now you and I, back in our heyday, right? We've talked about these stories quite a bit in our. When I was in my early 20s, you were in your mid-20s. I was single. Your girlfriend at the time was many thousands of miles away. You and I would go out quite a bit. We'd go out to a lot of hockey games, or we wouldn't watch a second of hockey. We'd follow that up by hitting up all the hottest clubs in our metropolis and dancing the night away until we ended up inevitably at the local pizza place around 1:30 or 2 in the morning for a couple of slices, and then we'd go home.
Yeah, and again, you said that you were single at the time. I was in a relationship, so my sole goal was to help you find the woman of your dreams. I would encourage you to leave notes on the receipts that the waitress would give you.
Right. Yeah,
the infamous one that stands out in my mind was "you bangin'." It was hey Sadie, you bangin'.
Yep, hard to forget Sadie. Hey Sadie, you're banging, and
obviously the digits would be left there too.
Yeah, and it must have been in my drunken stupor that I put down an incorrect phone number because I never once received any follow-up.
No.
Feels like
there
a
are
mistake.
still women out there all across this great region just wondering what if that man had picked up.
Yep, there's bartenders and waitresses abound, moved on to careers and families who, no doubt, probably weekly, look back and think, boy, how different my life would be had I just texted that guy from the receipt who left me a moderately okay tip.
Yeah,
but
it's
I bring
like a
that up.
modern day love
during
story.
the intro there. One of your favorite sayings, Steve, is you had a little soda pop, adult beverage.
Hate it.
And I wanted to ask you because that we were talking about you watching a concert on your TV from the Walking Hobo. I don't know his name.
Griffin House.
Oh yeah, the fake name, the fake guy Griffin House, and. You had a drink in your hand, and that reminded me. I wanted to ask you today because I've noticed on my end, been doing a lot more like afternoon and evening drink or two, beer or two, mixed drink or two. Has that been the same for you since you've been kind of forced into staying at home every afternoon?
No, my drinking habits have not changed one bit because I don't. Like, I'm not a big drinker to begin with.
Right.
So, the last drink I had was the one that was in that picture that you were referencing.
Man, I have found myself afternoons, evenings, having 1 to 3 beers most days now. I think
which is weird because you're not a social person. So,
I'm having it by myself at home, Steve. I mean, for God's sake.
Quarantine is pretty much like your dream scenario, right?
Yeah, it's totally fine. I haven't complained once about this. It's not bad. The only thing that I'm not happy about is that movie theaters are closed. I mean, come on, it's assigned seating. Make me sit 3 seats away from someone. There's no need to shut those down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think I'm anxiety drinking, Steve, which I don't know if that's. I know it's not healthy. It's definitely not good for you.
No, definitely not. I don't think anyone would recommend anxiety drinking.
But I've never had like anxiety or felt anxious. But these last few weeks, Steve, have been obviously extra amped up nerves, and to the point where I come home and. Maybe after dinner, maybe before, have one after dinner, and just to kind of calm the brain down a little bit.
Which is strange. This is a little bit of a shift from your opinion, going back just 4 weeks, probably.
Oh Jesus! What are you talking about? There's nothing. Listen, I am like our president, and since around Christmas and January, I have been taking this course. I have been taking this thing so deadly seriously that I have no clue what you're referencing, Steve.
Right. It wouldn't happen to be you. Audio of you from the Fast Five. Again, I think this is probably 4 weeks ago. One of the things on my Fast Five was coronavirus. Do you want to hear what your response was?
I don't remember your question. I don't remember recording anything called a Fast Five. But, if you have some doctored audio, sure, unleash it.
All right. Here is what you said just mere weeks ago, about coronavirus. Number 2, coronavirus.
Yeah, where are we at with that?
Are you scared about it?
Nah.
75,000 reported cases.
Yeah, our doctors are smarter.
Like, you're just not concerned at all.
Nah.
Oh, Steve, that could have come from anybody. And to be honest with you, hearing it
fake
now...
Fake news, fake audio?
Hearing it now, that doesn't even sound like me. So maybe... Are you sure that wasn't the episode where we had... because we have a lot of guests roll through there. On a weekly basis. So are you sure that wasn't when we had our friend Doug come in?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not audio from nearly 2 years ago from when Doug was here.
I mean, we'll have to check the markers. I mean, that could have been anybody. Yeah, that's, listen, I've talked about it. In the life of a hot taker, when you're a hot take artist, Steve, everybody has a misfire. Maybe everybody's got their, I'm sure somewhere out there, like Vincent van Gogh's got a painting, right, where people are like, nah, don't want it. Like they wouldn't pay a penny for it. Is there a Vincent van Gogh or another famous painter out there who, like, I could buy one of his paintings for like $30 because it sucks so bad?
Boy, I don't know. I'm not big in the art world. Yeah, I don't know.
On that front, could you name a famous painter from the last, like, 70 years?
Norman Rockwell?
Was he within the last 70? When did that guy who just splashed different colors all over it? When was he around? Pollock?
Oh yeah, Jackson Pollock. Yeah, he drew like Campbell's soup cans and stuff like that, right?
Garbage. Wasn't Pollock? Hang on, wasn't he the one who literally just like flung paintbrushes at a canvas, or who was that?
I don't know. I don't want to classify him as that because I'm not positive if that was exactly his method, but
either
I'm not
way,
positive.
Every Pollock, every Van Gogh, every who's the guy who did the big church? Good God!
You mean the Sistine Chapel?
That's the one. That's a church, right? That's the big church. That's what they call it over there. That's what
the big God house.
Yeah, you and I over here.
Oh, God lives here.
You and I over here acting like a bunch of tourist idiots, going, the Sistine Chapel. And over there like, oh, yeah, we'll meet you down at the big God house around 4 and we'll walk to dinner. Right?
Oh, boy. By the way, it is Saturday, April 4th, 2020, the year of our Lord. It's the Steve and Kyle podcast.
Yeah.
And Kenny Rogers was a pro-level tennis player.
Wow. Now, you say pro-level, Steve, and again, the whole point of this was you don't need to have like a full backstory on the Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week, which we're going to need a sounder for that immediately for next time for the Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week.
Yeah.
But pro-level, Steve, does that mean he was a semi-pro or pro player, or does that his ability, like, because if I'm a really good golfer, I could say I'm a scratch golfer, which means I play with no handicap. What does a pro-level tennis player mean?
Well, Kenny Rogers was quoted as saying, I played tennis for 10 years, 8 hours a day, every day, and developed a national ranking while I was on the road playing with Wimbledon champions. He told Rolling Stone in 2014.
Huh.
I feel like I need to hear someone else say it, though.
I've got to be honest with you. Seems like an egomaniac. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't do... By the way, I don't know what era Kenny Rogers claims he was doing this. He's a touring full-time musician, and he wants me to believe he's playing tennis 8 to 10 hours a day. Get the hell out of here, roaster.
Every day, too. Every day.
Yeah, so the guy who had multiple hits didn't spend any time in the studio. Hey, sorry, sell that song to some other schlub. I'm going to go out and hit the court with Agassi.
Yeah, Roaster's here to play.
Yeah,
Roaster's not here to sing.
Boy, oh boy, that Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week has sure put a damper on my otherwise stellar opinion of the Roaster.
I mean, I can throw some more at you, but
no. Hey, one
a week
Factoid of the Week.
Well, as we were talking a little while ago, I had a reminder pop up on my phone that said, get a Kenny Rogers Factoid that apparently I set here. Let's see. I will show this to you right now.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, 9:55. I remember you said it while we were recording last week. So that was just an hour late.
No, oh, wow. No, it's 10:05.
Did you literally just get it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had it already.
No.
Before the reminder.
It went off,
okay.
No, it went off while we were talking.
Wow. Well, stay tuned next week, and I will provide the second ever Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week. But yeah, Steve, to go back, every artist has their misfires. Even the guy who did the Big God House over there in is that Italy?
Yeah,
Spain. Italy. I don't know. They're all the same over there. I mean, it's
quite a take. So we're doing this episode once again, as we mentioned, through 1998's greatest technology, Skype.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you've seen in the last week, it seems like everybody I know is posting the picture on Facebook of all of them doing virtual happy hour or something, where it's like the Brady Bunch setup where there's 9 different people on the screen and everyone's got a drink in their hand.
Yeah.
And everybody can do this. Everybody is able to do this now, except the people who, like, it's kind of, I mean, for me, it's my profession to be able to record audio and figure out video. And boy, have we had the most difficult time doing this over the last 2 weeks.
So, like, you know, I would argue, Steve, you're a professional level audio technician, much like the roaster was a professional level tennis player.
Sure.
You're a professional level audio tech. You and I are at a point where if we can hear each other, we're calling it good enough.
Because, look, I could just, we could do a Skype meeting or a Zoom meeting and just hit the record button.
Right.
And have all of the audio and be perfectly happy with it. But, well, no, I wouldn't be perfectly happy with it because I'm a stickler for how the audio sounds. And if it sounds like crap, I don't want anything to do with it. So last week after we recorded, I think it was like a 34-minute episode.
Yep.
It took me over 3 hours to edit that audio and piece it together to what you heard in the podcast last week. Because you recorded audio on your end.
Yep.
I recorded audio on my end. And now typically you would just take them, sync them up. As long as I have the same reference point at the beginning and the end, everything in the middle will fill in and it'll be perfect. But that wasn't the case. I had to basically piece together our whole conversation. I would say something, and then I would have to go into your track and find out what your response was, and I would have to drag it over and plug it in, and then I would talk again, and then I'd drag your clip over. Now, that was easy enough, but the worst part is when we talked over each other, because then it was impossible, and last week, nearly was the first time that we did not have an episode on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have blamed you.
That would have been a hell of a 200th episode.
Oh, boy. Well, we would have just delayed the 200, and it would have been today, the big grandiose celebration that we had last week. We would have just done today instead.
Yeah,
I would argue this transition for us has not been as smooth as it should have, considering we've done this for so long, and we have done nothing but miserably fail at it thus far.
Yeah, we're not doing too great.
But the reason I bring up me having a few beers over, via anxiety most days of the week, and that reminded me. And also speaking of of your friend Doug, who sat in with us, was it 2 years ago now? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. He sat in was our one and only guest in the APS
in 4 years. He
posted something this week that he was leaving Facebook, whatever. That's
he
totally
does that
fine.
all the time. Yeah.
That didn't spur me because I had already done it at that point, Steve. But you are talking to a guy who is today, April 4th, 3 days clean on the cesspool known as Twitter.
Really? You're done?
I'm done. I'm
now,
done.
Did you close the account or you just stopped using it?
I deleted the app off the phone. So, I guess I could still access it via the browser. But it's a lot of hassle, and I don't know the password. So, because it's an auto login. But as of today, or as of April 1st, I believe was the time when I finally said this has got to stop.
What finally did it?
I've become, and it's right now it's different, and I think this circumstance is what finally pushed it over the edge, Steve, because whatever, I've gotten into countless debates, and I get angry at it too easily, but now these last few weeks, with everything going on, with the spread of this, and I've mentioned before my wife being on the front lines, being an ER nurse, having an 18-month-old son at home. Again, I'm not the only one in this scenario. I'm not trying to act unique or act like I'm in a different setup than anybody else's. I totally understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm extra anxious already, and I would just sit there almost refreshing the coronavirus trend thing.
Oh boy, that's a bad idea.
Not like every second, because I'm working, right? But I would check it nonstop, essentially just waiting for another shoe to drop. And every few hours, a different shoe would drop, whether it be a different state going on shutdown, whether it be a different country reporting an exponential growth in deaths or cases. And it to the point where it was way too consuming. And then, it's what they always tell you not to do, right? Whether it be on Facebook, on your local news story, or just in general. There I go, clicking on a link, whether it be, BBC updating their news, or whether it be one of the United States news corporations. I would click on it, and the first thing that pops up is all of the comments and replies underneath. And it would just make me so angry, because it's still an overwhelming majority of... I shouldn't say that. There's still a way too large number of people saying, no worse than the flu, this is just a cold, quit being babies. And I got to wait. I would just end up sitting there, and I'd get mad, and I'd comment back at people, and I was like, what am I doing? What the hell am I doing? This is a waste. I'm already in a bad spot right now in terms of my own, feeling anxious, and I don't need to continue to do this to myself. When I opened Twitter more than 10 years ago, Steve, I opened it for sports. Honestly, I follow writers because that's where the news breaks first. As everybody knows, I'm a huge sports fan, so I would have that because that's where news would break first. Well, you know what? I'll find alternative means because that's transformed over the years into me not using it for that. So, today 3 days clean. I'd be lying if I said it was easy.
You got the jitters a little bit?
Not the jitters, but I'm so used to it's muscle memory, right? I knew where the app icon was on my phone.
Yeah, and you go right for it.
So I turn on my phone, and that's the first thing. Oh wait, the icon's not there anymore. So I'm in a new spot where I'm trying to find I actually texted my friend Matt the other day, hey, what sites do you use for news? Just in general, are you using ABC? Do you use I wish because for my money in terms of big headlines, the AP, the Associated Press, is what on social media is what is pretty darn universally known as the best.
Yeah,
they're not. The AP's not getting many things wrong, right? And
I trust that. I trust BBC also.
Yeah. And so I'm I got to find some websites to check for headlines if I want, because I still need to read the news and want to know the news.
Yeah, you got to know what's going on.
But I don't even know where to start. I'm like a 65-year-old who just got their first computer.
What is the internet?
Yeah.
Where
How
do
does
I go
this whole thing? So I just click here, and then this thing pops up. Wow, would you look? And I can send a message to my friend even? Wow, without a stamp. Who'd have thought?
Man, I don't think I'm that far behind you with Twitter. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever actually delete it altogether, but I never use it. I never, I'll refresh it once a day so I can see my notifications.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. I don't interact really on there.
Yeah.
I don't care to interact with anyone on there. It's just too much. It's one more way that people can annoy me,
right?
And I'm not saying that that everyone annoys me on there, but I just don't want to be that accessible.
I get it.
I don't want to be accessible 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
it's just not. It's a weird world that we're in. I'm trying to live a little bit more in the moment. As much as weird as it's been over these last couple weeks, it's also been, I guess the silver lining has been I've gotten some little projects done. I've spent more time with my family. I'm so that's good. And I hope that continues. I do, because we need some good news. We need some positive to come out of this.
Right. And I do want to clarify, when I say, the interactions I'm talking about have nothing to do related to this podcast and with the people associated with this podcast, because I've mentioned it before, and I genuinely mean this. I used to love, like, clicking our notifications tab on our podcast Twitter account. I love interacting with the listeners of this podcast. Part of the joy of the week is it's kind of amazing how it works. We'll record this on Saturday. It'll be released on Tuesday. We'll get a notification on our social media on Wednesday or Thursday with, a quote of something that was said over the week on the show. And I honestly don't remember it, but it makes me chuckle. And then this week it happened. I had to go back and find a spot, where did that come from, and click on it and play it back to know what happened. So I want to clarify. I love those. What I don't love is me forcing myself into confrontation with random internet people that I don't need to do, because I get angry because people are, in my mind, not taking this as seriously as they should be. So I need to withdraw myself from that.
All right, so hear me out. How about you reinstall the app?
No.
But only log in to the podcast account.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Our podcast or our Twitter feed is not going to be full of all of that other crap. For the most part, unless you go to the trending stuff. But if you stay away from the trending stuff...
Hey, boy, you're asking for a lot of restraint for, again, a guy who has relied on this for 11 years.
Yeah.
11 years.
So what you're saying is now, if there's going to be any Twitter communication whatsoever, it's on me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to ask you, now we need to switch, because now that I've figured out how to post polls to Facebook, because, again, we're so technically and technologically proficient on this podcast that we've done for 4 years, that for a while, Steve, you and I could not figure out how to post polls to Facebook because they changed where they are.
Right. There's one extra click.
This came on the heels... was it last year? Yeah, it was last August, of our friend Nikki having to show us how we can upload a video to Twitter.
Yeah.
More than 45 seconds. I don't know how we're still doing this. I don't know how this episode gets uploaded every week, as it is.
It's usually a struggle. I'll be honest. It's a big struggle.
But I think I can post, because I have a poll I want to post, and it's up right now if you guys want to check it out. Is the Sistine Chapel referred to as the Big God House outside of Italy, or inside of Italy? Apologies, that's the way it should be written.
Yeah, the BGH, the Big God House.
Yeah, again, that's where everybody meets before they hit the town for the night. Is, hey, let's head out to meet me in front of the BGH, or meet me behind the BGH. If you're one of the rabble rousers of Italy, you meet behind the BGH, and then go do what you're going to do. If you're on the up and up, Steve, obviously you meet in front of the BGH because you have nothing to hide.
Yeah,
you're not hiding behind. God, who drew that? Who drew the walls there? What was that one?
That was Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. Are you sure that's not the statue?
Yeah.
Huh.
He painted the Sistine Chapel.
Well, I don't know why I questioned you. You're the one who did a semester abroad in that country.
Yeah, I've been to the BGH, man.
You've been to the BGH?
Yeah, of course I've been to the BGH. Come on, what do you think I am, some idiot?
Now, you visited, so is it okay for you to refer to it as the BGH, or because you're back in America now, do you have to refer to it again as the Sistine Chapel?
Oh boy, I don't know. I think maybe while I was there, I could have referred to it as the BGH, but I don't think those privileges are everlasting.
Yeah, so you've lost BGH privileges once you left, or maybe it sticks with you for 90 days, but then if you don't return, you lose those privileges.
It's kind of like a work visa. You can only use it it's only good for a limited amount of time.
Right. Do you think places like the Sistine Chapel to Italians are like the Empire State Building and the, not the World Trade Center, what's it referred to as, Steve, now? Freedom Tower?
Freedom Tower. Yeah, I mean, it's all still part of the World Trade Center complex.
Right. But do you think, like the Sistine Chapel for Italians, it gets treated by Italians the way New Yorkers treat those, which is I mean, they live there. So for them now, it's
just kind of a building.
Yeah. Like, do you think, because we look at the Sistine Chapel, we look at, the Vatican, we look at all of those places over there with such awe, right? I mean, where it's like, oh man, those are beautiful. Can you imagine just looking at the architecture and being able to walk through there? But, Italians are walking by flicking their cigarette butts in the big square where the Pope's giving mass every week.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, being the resident BGH expert on this podcast,
sure.
Of course, I mean, there's only one of us that has been to the BGH.
That's true.
And if that person is you, raise your hand. It looks like only one hand is raised.
Oh.
What were we saying? What were we talking about?
Oh, yeah, I was asking you if you think they just dismiss them.
No, I don't think they do. I think it's probably a pretty big deal for them.
Still? You think they're still walking by and they're taking a moment, right? Like they're walking past, whether it be on their way to work or on their way to get dinner or whatever, and they stop.
A pizza pie, obviously.
Yeah, obviously a pizza pie. And and they turn towards
some gabagool.
And they turn towards the Sistine Chapel.
I'm just passing the Pope House on my way to get some gabagool.
Hey, the big man lives on top there at the Pope House, and he walks over to the BGH once a week. Hey, oh!
Oh, what are you going to do?
I have no idea why every local Italian is now a mobster in a 1990s United States Mafia movie. But they absolutely are. Because, I don't know, I feel like that just becomes... and again, obviously I haven't lived there, Steve. Now, you worked there. But did you still find yourself going to New York City for the time you worked there and, like, being kind of awestruck by the buildings, the landmark buildings on your way in?
Not really.
Really?
It was, it was part of the day. It was part of my routine.
So for a while there, Steve, you became the native New Yorker you see on the TV shows where it's like you're just bothered by everything. Like everybody's in your way. You need to move faster than everybody. You're always on the phone, closing a deal. And you're just and you can't be bothered to look up as you stroll past the Empire State Building on the way to your food cart.
No, that's how it was easy to tell who was a tourist and who wasn't.
Right.
The people that are, wow, look at the building. I bet you could go all the way to the top of that and see the moon.
I don't know why people who are enamored by literally the biggest skyscrapers on the earth and the biggest city on the earth get that type of treatment from you.
That's right, because you would kind of fall into that category, wouldn't you?
Well, there's no question. I haven't lived there. So, yeah, if I went to New York, I wouldn't just stare walking at the sidewalk to try to look cool.
It is really funny, though, that's our reaction. Like, and the only reason that people react that way is because something is tall. Like,
no, that's And now,
but I mean, you look at it.
True.
You look at it with somebody who's like 7'2". Like you look at Shaq. Shaq walks in, and all everybody can do is be like, "Wow, he's so tall."
Right.
Like, what is our obsession with tall things or big things?
No, that's
so stupid.
I mean, it's obviously has something to do with the idea that it's just.
Well, it's really stupid, and anyone who's enamored by that stupidity is even stupider than the stupidity that they're enamored by.
Wow, folks. You heard it here. If you happen to enjoy the sights and sounds of the skyscrapers of whether it be Chicago, New York City...
Oh, you're stupid.
Any other large town...
Dumb.
You're stupid, and you're dumb. And that's right from Steve's mouth. That you're talking from one-time resident Italian who's looking down on you just in general, and one-time New York City, Manhattan worker himself.
Oh, yeah. Savvy man I was.
Now, if we had the capability at this juncture to get Brother Mike on, I would like to ask him the same question because he is in New York City often enough or occasionally for work, and I would be curious to get his take on it to see if he is as jaded about, quote, tall stuff as you are, Steve.
Look, there's nothing interesting about tall things. Nothing.
So your vacation destination, but here again, how many years ago was it that you and was it 2 years ago? Yeah, because it was obviously before Evelyn's birth that you and Annette you were in Denver, right?
Yes.
Now, were you sitting there, looking out? You went and saw a concert at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
Which is literally just rocks. And if I recall, there's a picture, you may even send it to me or it was on your social media, like a panoramic, I believe, of these rocks.
Well, it's a theater carved into rock, or carved out of rock. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that it's the greatest thing in the world, but I'm also not enamored by it simply because it's big.
But you're enamored of it because it's rocks that have been there.
Well, at least that's like a natural thing. It's a natural phenomenon. But you look at a building, why are you so amazed by something that we built?
All right,
it's not like this was a natural formation and out of the sky fell a building and it just stood there. Like, we built it. Obviously not us, but like mankind, humans built something. We're able to do that.
All right. So is Steve being amazed by rocks the same as being amazed by skyscrapers? That'll be on the poll
same
as well.
The same as Kyle being amazed by skyscrapers.
I did not put myself in there. Now, granted, do I look up when I'm in New York City? Yes. Now, if you want to classify that as, quote, being amazed.
Oh, I do.
Certainly. I do. Now, you can
look if you're gonna classify me taking a picture of a place I was as being amazed, then yes, I'm going to classify you looking up as being amazed.
All right. Well, you know
that's
what
only
I'm
fair.
Do? I'm going to get Annette on the horn here when we're done with this, and I'm going to ask, when you guys were in Denver, did Steve stop awestruck multiple times at the sights of different large rocks?
Yeah, I just stood there like,
look how tall that rock goes, Annette. Can you believe it?
like in the cartoons when their eyes are on springs and they're like,
yeah. That's you with rocks and me with any building taller than a house.
Oh, I think that thing's 4 stories.
So I'm going to go outside, Steve, and I've got some really nice rocks underneath my deck, and I'll take a picture of those and I'll send them your way.
Okay, well,
anytime you're
gonna love the picture of my shed that I send in return, because I think at the peak that thing's like 8 feet.
Oh boy, is that a true A-frame out there? Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wow! Now I love a good A-frame, Steve.
All right, let's see.
Now, we were talking a bit off air, and again, we had said that. So before we even get into the story, I want to clarify: this is not another neighbor story, because we said we're going to stop that until there's an actual update on that neighbor. But we were talking about something, and your neighborhood got brought up before we started recording, and you told me, quote, I had an interaction with them yesterday.
Yeah.
Now,
I did.
Here's what's stunning to me, because I asked you as kind of a podcast chore. I want to say it was in January.
Yeah.
I gave you 4 weeks
to interact.
To literally have an interaction. I didn't care what it was. Something outside of a driveway-to-driveway wave with no words exchanged. And it fell by the wayside. It didn't happen. So what you do is you wait until the first week in April, when as a society we're under a stay-at-home order,
right,
and being told to avoid other people,
to
finally make your move with a neighbor. Now, I need to ask you, Steve, without giving away the names, can you describe to me which neighbor it is? Because we've talked about all of your neighbors on this podcast. We've got the hipster millennial young couple. I think it's like Julie with a Y and Xander with a Y and a Z.
It is not Julie and Xander.
And then you've got the family on the corner. I forget how we've referred to them. You had a conversation with this family on the corner who had their children playing out like baseball in the yard. I believe I've seen coming by.
Yeah. They have a young daughter. She's probably a little bit older than Reed. I'd say she's probably probably around 2.
And they were the first ones you had interaction with when you moved in, right? First neighbor you had interaction with?
Yeah, the first time, like the first, I mean, other than Cindy who lived next door, who you refer to as
the widower or the widow. Apologies. I feel bad for her and obviously her late husband. But as we found out in the later episodes, she got hitched to the other side neighbor as they moved into community together. As they
don't think that's how it happened, but
that's the way I remember it. Is that they were having an affair. She may have Carol Baskined her husband.
Oh boy! A little pop culture right there. Huh?
This episode's going to relate in 5 years, and people have no idea what that's talking about.
Hell, in 2 months when I'm like, who's Carol Baskin?
Carol
Baskin.
Who that is. Fed him to the tigers. What the hell is he talking about there?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear, Steve, your newest update on what you had to talk about during a quarantine with one of your neighbors.
Well, this all occurred yesterday. I finally took the snowblower out of the garage, moved it back into the shed. A true sign that winter has passed us by.
Yep. Now we'll wait for the mid-April West Michigan snow.
Yeah, 2 feet probably.
Yep. A big storm.
Took our bicycles out of the shed and brought them into the garage, and I was just they were a little dusty from sitting in there all winter, so I was just cleaning them off and reinflating the tires, so in case we want to go for a bike ride anytime soon. And a friend stopped by, even though that's not supposed to happen now.
Not recommended?
Nope. A friend stopped by to pick up it was our friends Cy Nolan and Ryan Young. He needed a certain cable adapter for his computer that I happen to have one that I don't need anymore. So he stood literally halfway down the driveway, and I threw it to him. So we maintained our social distance.
Perfect.
And while we were talking for a few minutes, I looked across the street, and the neighbors across the street on the corner were getting back from a walk. It's husband, wife, and young daughter. Mm-hmm. And so they walked up the driveway. Then he turned around, came back down to get his garbage can. And as he was walking down the driveway, he gave a wave and, "Hey man, how's it going?" And I said, "Good, man. How you guys hanging? You know, how you holding up during all this? Blah blah blah. Just little quarantine small talk." And he said, "We're doing the best we can." I said, "Yep, us too." And then I made the little quarantine quip, I'll call it. A quipping team.
Oh, now have you had this one holstered, or was this a true off the cuff quip?
This was spur of the moment.
Whoa.
This was I didn't have this in the holster when I looked over at him and said, "Got enough toilet paper?"
Oh, the whammy!
Gut punch.
Boy, you are one step away, and I made this reference on Twitter before I left, Steve. You are one step away from being that guy who's now posting like memes or GIFs or whatever of like quarantine day 27, and then it's just a picture of like Rip Van Winkle or something like that. They're all super funny. Seriously, people, keep them coming.
Oh man,
my God,
I have a Facebook friend who he's way too old to be getting into like the TikTok game.
Sure, yeah. Oh God,
trying to do the funny. So it seems like every day there's a different video with jump cuts where he's talking to himself. So like he'll be like, "Hey man, what are you going to do today?" And then it's a jump cut and it's him but just wearing a different shirt. "I don't know. I think I'm going to go to the store." Jump cut. "Hey, you're not allowed to do that because it's quarantine." And they never go anywhere. They're never funny. And I'm always like, just stop, man. Well, now me, on the other hand, dropping comedy bombs across the Zach, all approved.
I mean, listen, in-person comedy, Steve, a lost art, and I'm glad you're keeping it together with your toilet paper quip to a neighbor you haven't spoken to in more than a year?
Yeah, probably.
Wow. He probably walked inside. He probably kicked that front door open. He was so jacked up from that joke.
"Honey, honey, you gotta hear this comedy.
He just starts pounding his fist on the table. You're not going to believe what that neighbor just unleashed on me. By the way, Steve, you could have stopped that as your Facebook friend who's probably too old. Because when you mention TikTok, if you're out of high school, and I say this sincerely, if you're out of high school, lock it up.
So
okay?
No TikTok if you're out of high school?
Be done with it. Okay? This is one of those platforms that we're going to talk about years down the road as being such a crazy flash in the pan. MySpace had a pretty long shelf life as being an early inventor of social media, right? After Friendster.
Yeah, but MySpace was... I probably had it for at least a couple of years.
Yeah. I don't think TikTok will have that long of a shelf life,
You
honestly.
don't think so, huh?
I don't. It's useless. It's useless.
Yeah,
It's really providing nothing that any other platform can't provide you already, and it's such a young person's based platform that I think once they grow up even 3 to 4 years, it's going to be so just by the wayside.
Yeah, possibly. It's definitely I don't care. I've seen a bunch of funny TikToks, and I'm cool with that. But am I going to jump into it? No, not happening. Not happening.
But you're also
don't care.
You're also talking to a guy, Steve, who literally deleted his Twitter because he couldn't handle it himself. So I'm back on Facebook, where when I scroll through most of my news feed, it's just posts from the local watchdog page saying where is their toilet paper, and then updates from different people. Hey, there's the toilet paper 10:30 a.m. in stock at this place. So that's where my life's at now. Okay? So maybe TikTok, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll put that on the poll this week as well. Will TikTok be relevant in 2 years? And we'll see, or should I even say a year?
Honestly, I think it will be. I think it's going to be big.
Really?
It's already big, but you saying I deleted my Twitter and went back to Facebook, that's basically like my grandfather saying I wrote on the Hindenburg once.
Is there a way? Could you and I reinvigorate the MySpace user base? Is that still around?
Do you want to make a MySpace?
I think we should make a show MySpace, and we'll post. And I think we go one step further, Steve, because it's not like people are going to miss us. I think we post all of our content there. That's it.
Exclusively.
That's the exclusive platform. Maybe we pitch ourselves to MySpace as you can be the new exclusive home of all things Steve and Kyle.
So in your mind, when Justin Timberlake bought a stake in MySpace a couple years ago and couldn't revive it, you think we'll be able to do better than that?
Yeah. We've got a dedicated fan base.
Do we?
All right, that will be another poll. Should MySpace be the exclusive home to Steve and Kyle content?
All right. Exclusively to MySpace. Gotcha. Okay.
I'm going to have to send you all these polls, Steve, for you to post to Twitter. I'll post them to Facebook because, again, I'm no longer a member.
All right. Well, we are nearing the point where we should have to wrap this up because we're also doing a Fast 5 episode today, right?
Oh yeah. You got a Fast 5 coming later this week, so stay tuned for that. A lot of new things to talk about with that. So much other news going on that doing a Fast 5 is really simple.
It was very, very easy.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that in just a couple of days.
Yeah, so I guess hopefully this will probably be the norm going forward, unless we just get frustrated and do Driveway Cast like we've talked about.
The Driveway Cast, I think, is going to happen. Today's just a crappy rainy day, so obviously not ideal. But yeah, we'll do Driveway Cast, maybe a Deck Cast at one point.
Yeah. Oh my God! Before we go, Steve, I need. I need an update. Now, your lovely bride posted a picture of my good friend Toby, and please give him a couple of extra head rubs and head pats for me today.
Of course.
I miss him. Miss him and Lola. Toby sunbathing yesterday in the beautiful weather we had on your deck which you hate, your deck which was built for, we think, a pool, right?
There was a pool in the backyard at some point.
Right. So this deck, it's just a weird shape, just the way it is, whatever.
It looks like if you were at a fashion show, it's the runway that the models would be walking on.
Right.
It's just narrow, it's long, it's very strange. It's not practical. It's like 3 feet off the ground, but there's no railings anywhere, so it's basically a death trap waiting to happen.
Yep. So she had posted a picture of Toby, and you commented something along the lines of, like, I sure hope Toby's enjoying maybe the last day of sunbathing on that deck.
Yeah.
Because you and I, you have been talking about for a while, you want to replace that, you want to rebuild the deck.
Yeah, I want to reshape it a little bit.
Into something more normal. And I have offered from day one, minute one, I want to help. I want to help Demolition. If there's anything rebuilding-wise I can help, I'm in. Okay?
Okay.
So I saw you comment that, and my initial question was, is it finally happening? Is it demo day this weekend for the old deck?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen today again, just based on the crappy weather that we're having. But originally, when this whole coronavirus thing started, the plan was to hopefully do the deck this summer. Right. But now, because things are kind of up in the air, it looks like we're screaming towards a recession, if not a depression. I don't know if that's the smart move to make, because obviously you got to spend some money in order to do the adjustments to the deck.
Well, you just think about it as supporting a local business so that maybe they don't fall into such a deep recession, Steve.
That's true. I could do that. as well. But yeah, I think that regardless, I'm still going to deconstruct the part of the deck that I don't like, because right now we're not going to use it as is, so I can just get rid of it.
Right.
So I might do that. If the weather gets a little bit nicer today, I might do it.
Wow.
You up for a little demo?
Well, I feel left out because I don't know if this is something that we should be doing or that I can do. I've been looking forward to taking a hammer and crowbar and prying out a deck, but where are we at on social distancing demolition?
Well, I think as long as we, maintain the 6 feet, I think the fact that we'd be outside is much safer than doing this inside. I think it's doable.
All right. Hey, you let me know if you're going to do it. Now, again, I don't want to give you any false hope on the weather. I checked that when I woke up this morning, and this is about what we're going to get the rest of the day.
Okay.
But yeah, hey, socially distant demolition is okay in my book.
How about tomorrow? What's tomorrow look like?
Oh, not good.
No?
Not good. The wife is going to be at work, so it would have to be me and Reed doing socially distant demolition.
I don't know if you remember, but I believe that my daughter Evelyn got Reed a tool belt for Christmas.
Whoa!
So,
you're right. That's still upstairs right now with the hammer, the wrench, a nail and a screw, and a piece of wood to put the nail and the screw in, and safety goggles.
So what I'm saying is, what's the problem?
Put them to work.
Yeah.
That's the spirit, Steve. I like it. We'll be in touch. Like I said, I'm interested. I love demo. Okay. It's the best part of any construction project.
Once we're done recording, I'm going to go upstairs, take a look at the forecast, see if we're going to, even if we have like an hour or two break in the weather, we could probably get a bunch of the deck boards pulled off in that time.
Right. Yeah, you need a reciprocating saw. We'll just saw it right down the middle and start ripping them up.
The problem is I need to, once I start the project, I want it to be all done in a 1 day period.
Sure.
Because what I'm afraid I'm going to go and take all of the deck boards off. So I'm just going to be left with a frame. And Toby has a tendency, when he's running turbo fast around the backyard, he typically runs around the deck, but every now and then he'll run straight at it and jump up on it and then jump off the other side.
Right.
I'd feel really bad if he jumped up and then fell right through because there was no floor.
And I got to tell you, I know Toby. Distinct possibility.
Yeah.
Distinct possibility. So, all right. Well, maybe socially distant demolition is going to happen.
All right, well, I will keep you posted on that. As you hear right now, the sounds of our outro music playing. Once again, bringing end to the Steve and Kyle podcast for this week. But again, we have a Fast 5 episode coming up in just a couple of days.
Yep.
Do not try to tweet at Kyle because he is gone. Can I have control of your Twitter?
No.
Oh, come on.
Not in a million years.
At least so I can like and retweet stuff.
No, because then I'll come back and I'll have all of these like radio losers as my people I'm following.
Why am I following Hitler?
Yeah. And I'm going to try to go back and find sports news and realize you blocked every one of them. I don't even know what I'm reading right now.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next week at Steve and Kyle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. See you next week.